first off, I grew up as a ditch digger. I did it all through high school. I did it to buy my first car, take my girlfriend out for pizza, hang out with my friends, going bowling, whatever. But I recognized that I could trade labor for things, and I could bring things into my life through my own work. When you're building a 10,000 piece puzzle, there's no way you can build it without the box. You got to have the picture. And how many times do you look at that picture when you're building that puzzle?
Not everybody wants to be coached, Ken, and some people just want a job. Some people just want to come into a business and they don't really want to be told what to do aside from, what their role and responsibility is. How do you deal with people like that in your organization? And is there a place for people like that as well? So Ken, it was probably, I want to say 2020 or maybe even 2021. I was walking through Barnes & Noble with my wife, Kelly, and I saw this book on the shelf. A great cover design, blue and gold, I think it was, and it said, blue collar cash. And I was like, what the hell is this? This is amazing. My listeners know that I published a book a couple of years prior called Blue is the New White, but until I saw your book on the shelf, I had no idea that there was another resource out there that could help blue-collar business owners run, grow, and scale their business. And it was like a revolution for me, right? I was like, this is awesome. There's a movement out there that's happening. There are other people paying attention to this, not only the importance of the skilled trades, the blue-collar skilled trades, but also like offering resources to help people in these industries, which isn't something that we've seen before. So I got to ask you first and foremost, and we'll get to your background and what you do and all that, but why did you write this book?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Josh. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I just, I never woke up and said I was going to be an author. I have to tell you that what kind of prompted it originally was I had done a lot of impromptu coaching over the years. I never went to college. I don't have any letters after my name. I have no training whatsoever. But when you hire a couple of thousand people over 3 decades, you begin to get a feel for what makes people tick, and you see the changes and the evolution in the worker, the American worker. And I just, after all what I call this involuntary life coaching I have done, I learned a few things about what you can do to create an environment that attracts the kind of people that you really want. The actual impetus for the book itself was my daughter got sick when she was 12. I mean, scary sick. That is something that for the next 5 years, her mother and I were just scared to death, as she was. But she made it through all that. And you have a lot of time to sit around in oncology rooms and doctor's offices and waiting rooms and all that stuff. They put you through that misery. And so I wrote a letter to her about what I thought, you should be chasing in life. What should you be going after in life? How can you visualize your future the way you see it for yourself? The words comfort, peace, and freedom kept showing up. I couldn't get rid of these words. It was like, once you see a yellow dump truck, you see yellow dump trucks everywhere. And so I started writing a letter to her, and then pretty soon that morphed into the coaching I had done, and then friends of mine who had blue-collar businesses who were insanely successful after suffering the worst possible circumstances in their life personally. And then there it went. My wife said, I think you got a book here. And so I just kept going, and 80,000 words later, here we are.
That's amazing. That's another thing we have in common. Our wives are the ones that said, "Hey, I think you have a book here."
Yeah.
It's amazing,
Right.
man. That's great. So, what kind of coaching would you do?
Well, when you hire a 19-year-old and teach him how to use a shovel, I mean, and there's a lot of things that, we're ditch diggers here. That's what we are. And I say that with all the love and respect in the world, because that's how I grew up. But, when you talk about coaching someone through their first driver's license, or getting that driver's license cleaned up because there's problems, or getting them into their first apartment, their first checking account, their first credit card, getting them to see that there's life beyond Friday, Josh, getting them to see that there's life beyond their bills, and creating an environment where they say, you know what, I think I can get what I want with and through Ken's company. I think I can get what I want for myself here. I think I can work on a parallel path where I work for myself first and Ken's company second, and we both win. And the momentum of both of those efforts really, really, catalyze, just puts this thing on turbocharge. So it was the love of watching people develop and then getting them to understand that I'm as interested in their goals as they are, because when they win, I win, everybody wins.
That's amazing, and what a great way to look at it. I just had somebody on the podcast. His name was Jason Brooks, and he was an advocate for there's management, there's leadership, and then there's coaching, and there's a big difference between all three, right? Management is managing tasks, right? Leadership is talking to a lot of people. Coaching is talking to one person, and I think that there needs to be more of that in any industry, but we're talking about blue collar skilled trade industries here. I do have a question. I told you I hadn't finished your book yet. I'm about halfway through, but I want to say his name was Matthew. Was there a Matthew in the book, or was that, I forget his name, the one that you did do some coaching with, and you helped him buy a truck, then buy a house, then buy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to know. I knew I was having this interview with you, and I wanted to say, where is he now? And did I get his name right? Is that
His name is Tim.
Tim?
And it's funny because if for your audience, if you see that door over there, he just walked out of that door like 5 minutes ago.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, he's still with me. He's still with me some 39 years later.
Wow.
He was actually my third employee ever that I hired. And to be honest with you, that's where I learned to coach. We sat down one day, and in the book, you read the story about him, how he had so many personal challenges. And I said, well, let's just get a big piece of paper and some markers, and let's just draw this thing out.
Yeah.
And we worked through all the challenges and then got to the good side. He wanted a new house, and he wanted to build a house. He wanted a new pickup truck, and he wanted to find a place for his kids to play, and, some acreage. And so we took care of the challenges in his life, and then we moved on to the positive side. And it's because of Tim that I replicated that effort, a few thousand times over the last 40 years. And he's the OG, man. He's the lead dog on our coaching career. So it's been a hell of a ride.
That's great. I apologize for getting his name wrong. Don't tell him I did that.
No, that's fine.
No, that's great. So I have a question. I think maybe burning in some of my audience's minds right now is, not everybody wants to be coached, Ken, and some people just want a job. Some people just want to come into a business, and they don't really want to be told what to do aside from, what their role and responsibility is. How do you deal with people like that in your organization? And is there a place for people like that as well?
Well, two things. Number one, I think that those shells are just harder to crack, but they all crack. Okay, I think that's number one. Number two, if you walk up and down our hallway and you see all of the celebration going on around all of the goals that people are achieving, and you see the list that's 100 goals long. He went to Spain to golf. She went to Scotland to visit her aunt. This one got a new deck on his back of his house. This one bought a new car. This one took a vacation to his family to Disney. I mean, there's just a list. There's just 100 of them that have been accomplished. And there's also 50 or 60 live goals on this board that are living right now. I mean, right now as we speak. You begin to kind of break down, and you see that and you go, these people are really concerned about my future as much as I'm concerned about it. Why wouldn't I want the energy of all these other human beings high-fiving me in the hallway and being happy for my success? Why would I want to be the outlier who walks up and down the hallway, keeping to myself, all quiet, kind of reserved, when there's so much positivity around me? And I think some of that might have come from where their environment originally was. But I believe those shells are just harder to crack, but they all eventually do.
That's a really great answer. So how can a business owner create the type of culture conducive to cracking these shells?
You just have to say, I mean, first off, it starts in the interview. Well, why are you here? Mm-hmm. Okay. I've seen so many interviews, Josh, where it's, here's your hours, here's your uniform, here's where you report to, here's your health insurance, here's your whatever. I mean, the whole thing. It's just mechanical, right? Our interviews, we don't talk at all about that. That's the semantics that you get on the inboarding side or onboarding side. With us, it's all about, why are you here? I need a job. A job for what? I need to make money. Money for what? I got to pay my bills. Okay, bills. When you get beyond the bills, then what? When do you get to start living because of your work? Okay. When do you start to gain? When do you start to gain control of your own future through your efforts here? I need to know when that is. And they look at you like, wow, no one's ever asked me that question before. Like, dude, you're from Mars. Okay. but it's important because, companies are linear creatures, and everyone needs to remember that. So you have input from the left, you have human beings and machinery and raw materials, and you create something, right? You create a product or a service or a software, or you create something that then gets a price attached to it, and then it gets sold, and then it gets delivered and implemented, and somebody pays for that. And hopefully at the end of that line, there's profit. Well, the other thing at the end of that line is you as the business owner. You're at the end of the line. So why wouldn't you want everyone in front of you to win for themselves as much as humanly possible? Because when they do, that synergy lines up and creates the momentum for the goals that you have for the corporation. And you're doing this in tandem. So if everybody's winning within your company for themselves first in a very selfish way, you're always going to win. Company's always going to win that way.
So if everybody in the company is winning in a selfish way, you as the owner of the company will also win. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, and when I say selfish, I don't mean selfish at the detriment of other people.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I'm working on self-ish.
Correct,
Like,
correct.
I can see the puzzle that I built for myself. I can see the puzzle box. And now I have these pieces. And Ken's company is helping me guide myself through creating this puzzle for me. Okay, it's uniquely my own. Okay, because only you know what your favorite truck is, your favorite house is, your favorite vacation is.
Yeah.
Only you know what your favorite dog is, your favorite sport is, your favorite hobby, your favorite health moment, your favorite charity is. So why are you giving those decisions to other people? I say build that puzzle box yourself, get the pieces, and then let us together as a team, as a group of people, as a collective, let's all help you put that puzzle together. Because when that happens, you're happier at work, you're more productive at work, you're more loyal at work. You talk about your company to other people. And if you're going to work, it might as well be a cool place to work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well have a supportive place to be. Otherwise, it's just a grind, and we don't do grind here.
That's amazing. And to that point, that's the exact reason I just added a value to my company values called enjoy the journey. Right? We like to have fun at work. We like to infuse humor into what we do because to that point, we spend more time at work than we do at home most of our lives. And so why not create a business that can support that? So I want to address, what some people might be thinking out there. This sounds like a heavy lift, right? And when I say heavy lift, it means I can't fathom in my mind how much time it would take to create these systems, to have these conversations, to continually support, from that magnitude, everybody else's goals and ambitions. How would you address that? Sorry.
Well, two things. We have something here that we call a chief cool officer, okay, CCO, and she's just in charge of just meeting with people. And I mean, she has another job here. She works on her service department, but she also has the job of writing these goals on the board with the people, meeting them once every few weeks or months to see how their goals coming along, celebrating the goals when they're hit in front of everybody, which we all get involved in. So you can have somebody do it. The other thing you have to remember, and this is where the controversy comes. So here we go with the controversy. Okay.
Yeah.
The best thing that you can do as a CEO, an entrepreneur, a boss, an owner, a manager, the best thing that you can do for your company is to become 100% irrelevant to it.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is if you're in the ditches, if you're in the trenches, if you're in the machinery with them, sometimes you don't get to fly up at the 40,000 foot level and see the tanks over there coming at you, the infantry coming at you from over there, the army coming at you, whatever. Okay. You need to be looking up and out 5 miles. not 500 feet or even or even five. You need to be looking way out there.
Yeah.
And so, the only thing I do is walk around the hallways, high five people, check on their goals, and make sure that they're having a blast. I mean, that's what I do now. Um, and I have to tell you, for people who say, "Well, I can't afford that," you can't afford not to do this, because the quicker you give up the ego of being the boss, the owner, the manager, whatever that is, the quicker you're going to give up 70 hours a week. You're going to give up high blood pressure. You're going to remember your kids' first names. You're probably going to be a little better on the golf course. And sharing that effectiveness with the people around you, the entrepreneurial people around you, should be 100% of your goal. So to that, I say, you can't afford not to do this. And there's always somebody that that loves the process of being that chief cool officer, whether it's you or somebody you assign it to.
Yeah, I really love that outlook, and it's amazing to me. I won't ask you to speculate why more people don't have that thought process. I think it's pretty evident why, but I really love that. So for two reasons. Number one, as the more irrelevant you are to the business, the more valuable your business becomes. So if you are looking for an exit one day, as many people, many listeners and watchers of this podcast are, the less your business depends on you, the more you'll be able to exit your business for. So that's number one. Number two, I love that analogy of being able to take that 40,000 foot view. So I have a similar analogy that I heard from somewhere. I won't take credit for it, but I share this with my team as well. We liken it to chopping trees, right? We're a team of people. We're going through the forest. You can't see the forest through the trees, right? So we chop the trees. We're always so busy. We're chopping trees. That's our job. Every single day we're chopping trees. But we don't know where we're going to come out of the forest unless we stop, we climb a tree, and we look around and we make sure that we're going in the right direction. Sometimes we stop to sharpen our axe, right? Sometimes we can't get that tree down because our axe is too dull. So those two things, but more to your point, right? That 40,000 foot view, sometimes you got to stop, climb a tree, make sure you're headed in the right direction. And you're saying that should be the job of the CEO. Yeah.
I think so, because, if you truly are going to be a visionary, and if you're truly going to work on your business and not in it, okay, you're going to work, so that you can see what the future brings you. I just don't think you can do anything without a destination. I mean, when you get up in the morning, you have a destination in mind. I mean, you work your way through your bedroom to the bathroom, to the kitchen, to your car, to your office. There's always a destination in mind. You're always beginning with some place that you're going to. So why wouldn't you have that same feeling for your life, your personal life, your corporate life, your corporate's life, corporation's life, I should say, and the people within it? The one thing that we need to remember is that if there's 24 hours in a day, Josh, you have pretty much 8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours of working, give or take, and 8 hours of doing something else. Well, don't you want to hire the whole human being? Why are you only hiring 1/3 of them? I mean, you can't hire the sleep part, I get it. But why wouldn't you want to know the whole human being that you're hiring? Wouldn't you want to know, like, hey, wow, this guy rehabs old motorcycles. That's really cool. Or this guy builds furniture. That's really cool. Or these people are, they square dance. Whatever it might be, wouldn't you like to know the whole human being that you have in front of you rather than just 1/3 of it? Because once you get to that place, again, where someone can say, wow, I can get what I want with and through Ken's company for myself. This is really cool. I'm going to hang out here and I'm going to thrive here, because believe it or not, this guy cares more about my goals, or as much about my goals as I do. That's pretty cool. You don't find that very often, right? And so, yeah, I just think there's a whole lot of power in that.
Yeah, let's talk about the power in that. So I'm curious, when I say power in that, what's the result of this, Ken? Maybe you can give us a little background on your business and your journey through scalability, where you started, where you are today, and how this helped you achieve it.
Well, I can tell you that probably the most potent story. I started my company. First off, I grew up as a ditch digger. I did it all through high school. I did it to buy my first car, take my girlfriend out for pizza, hang out with my friends, going bowling, whatever. Um, but I recognized that I could trade labor for things, and I could bring things into my life through my own work. Um, but then after opening franchises around the country when I was in my early 20s, I was 24. I moved to Toledo, Ohio, to open my first company. I started with 6 people, and now I think we have over 200. And then we're involved in some other things as well: home building and office building, and some medical investments, some kind of construction supplies, that kind of thing. Um, but I think the most powerful thing was about probably 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago now. I walked into my conference room and I said, okay, you know, we did increase in sales, and then we plateaued for a couple of years, and then we would increase and plateau there for a couple of years, and then we would increase again.
Mm.
And I walked in and I surrounded myself with the 10 most eligible entrepreneurial people that I had. And I said, here's a piece of paper, everybody, and a pencil. I want you to write down how far we can go further in revenue this next year. And before you write the number down, I want you to know something. I'm going to share part of that newfound revenue with you. So I want you to write down a number that you think we could get to. Wouldn't you know it, Josh? Every one of their numbers was $1 million or $2 higher than my number was.
That's
That's
amazing.
scary. So I didn't even tell him what my number was. In fact, I didn't even tell him I came up with the number. Okay. I stuck it back in my pocket very sheepishly with nobody seeing. But I have to tell you, you got to be careful that you're not your own self-limiter, you know? And so for me, the power of that entrepreneurial thing where they were like, hey, wait a minute, Ken, hang on a second. So let me get this straight. So if we do that number and we're in control of how we get to that number, you're going to share some of that newfound revenue with us, more so than you even do already. Yeah. Okay, well then thank you for that, and get the hell out of our way and let's go do it, right? So it was a revelation, Josh, and it's something that we still do to this very day. We do it every year where we do our offsite, where we're either in Punta Cana or over here, Dominican Republic. We do this thing once a year. And it's amazing because there's no limit to what these people will think about. And all I can come up with is, you've got 10 sets of eyes and 10 brains and 10 mindsets and 10 people that are, theorizing and thinking about the future. You can't do that all on your own. I don't care who you are. You can't do that all on your own. And you'd be foolish to try, because these people will help you take your company way further than you can do it yourself. I can assure you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaks to the line: talent wins games, teamwork wins championships, right? And
right.
That's really great. So I appreciate you kind of painting that picture for me and our audience. I think that's really going to help. You mentioned something in there, as almost a motivator, as incentive, where we go, and I'll share that with you, right? Talking about the revenue, I have to imagine some sort of a profit sharing incentive that
Right.
that you've established. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I believe that everybody in your company should be on a monthly bonus, some type of quarterly thing, and an annual thing. And the reason I say that is because there's those, there's those short, medium, and long-term goals, right? But they also have to have their own puzzle board box in plain sight. Like, I can show you right behind me. I just got one this morning where it's a vision board. But these are vision boards that are very specific. So if somebody wants to, I'll take an example. My controller wanted to visit her aunt in Scotland. So she knew that was going to be a $3,000 thing. So January 1st, she writes down on the board, going to see my aunt in Scotland, $3,000. It's going to take 50 weeks or 60 weeks at 52 weeks at about $60 a week to save that money. I have it in this account. It's being deposited every Friday. I'm not using that account for anything else. And then she signs it. Okay. I'll be going 1 year from today. And that right there is a long-term goal. We'll call that a year. Okay. So if people in the company if they can start anticipating things like that. I mean, like, for example, we're also good at anticipating a vacation, right? I'm going to get my sandals. I'm going to get my beach towel. I'm going to get my beach chair. I'm going to go to the Naples, Florida. I'm going to find my margarita and my music. I'm going to sit there and watch the ocean crash in and the salt sea air bathe all over me. I'm going to get the Coppertone #8 suntan lotion, put it and spread it all over. You know what I mean? You get the picture. The palm trees are waving. We're also good at anticipating a vacation. Why are we not anticipating everything else in our life? You know, our houses, our cars, our families, our charities, our sports, our hobbies, our health, our pets, all those things. So what I'm trying to get at is if I can click you along on a monthly, quarterly, and annual incentive, and you pair that up with what your own anticipations are, now you've got this gigantic, powerful force that keeps people coming in every day early, staying late, working hard, hitting those goals, making those things happen because they're literally working for themselves, not for you. You're like the byproduct of that. And it's just an amazingly powerful force.
Wow, I would imagine it'd be a powerful force. I don't know a lot of companies that have all three, a monthly, quarterly, and annual incentive. And when you say this, are you talking specifically financial, or is it something else that could be an incentive monthly, quarterly, and annually? I imagine some business owners that are listening are probably thinking to themselves, well, you know, I don't know if my cash flow can support that. I don't know if my profit margin can support that, especially, you know, if I end up getting more employees, you know. So, you know, in your mind or in your business, you know, what does it look like?
Well, you can either do cash incentives or you can do point incentives, and the point incentives are towards something at the end of the year, whether that be inclusion in the offsite trip or whatever. But what I will tell you is this. Uh, I've never not been able to afford one of those trips because the force of the people who are in charge of hitting the trip always seem to come through.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
it's one of those things because, again, when you say that, especially that person that might be thinking that, I'm not sure I have the cat. Well, believe it, if you set these people loose, they'll create the cash flow for you.
Yeah.
And by the way, if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. So it's not like you've won or lost because you've given them the chance to say, this is where you're at now. This is what you could do. Let's see if you can make that happen. And they go collectively, all right, well, let's take on that challenge. And if they win it, they win it. If they lose it, they lose it. It's not so much on your shoulders to say, I'm going to award this to you, because you could stand right back at them and say, well, how'd you do?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you making this happen? Are you on track? How are you doing? And they love the control of that. I mean, the best part about being in blue collar work, and you know this, you get to control your input, you control your output, you control the quality of that output, you control your day, your time, your schedule, and usually you control your financial gain. You don't normally get that on the 15th floor in some cubicle at some medical supply sales company. So, I mean, I love the fact that we are in control of a lot of this stuff. So all I'm saying is take the fact that you have that control and put that on some of these entrepreneurial people around you, and then get out of the way and watch what happens.
That's really great. So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing you correctly, I want to make sure I'm clear for my audience. There has to be, number one, very specific measurables attached to this monthly, quarterly, and annual incentives. And additionally, as another layer, those measurables need to be above baseline. They need to, the targets need to produce, right? You can't make the targets on what you're doing today or what you're making today, because then there's no incentive for the business to grow. So they have to be attainable, you know, but not easy. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you just said it, because remember, if you're transparent enough with them, you're going to say, with the newfound revenue becomes newfound profit, which is where I'm sharing it from.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're creating more dollars, there's more to share with you. If you're not creating more, if you stay the same, well, then we're staying the same, right? Mm-hmm. That's just common sense. But there is something, when you attach that mechanism to their own personal chase, whatever it is. This year, I want to take my family to Disney World, or this year, I want to put a new deck on my house, or this year, I want to buy a new car. Whatever it might be, if you attach both of those together and they run on a parallel track in tandem, that's where the real power happens, because sometimes these people will win individually and not win corporately, and that's still okay. Sometimes they'll win both ways, and that's great. But they're in control of it the whole time. As much as they're in control of their own mini win, they're in control of the overall win. And what you find is you create these amazingly independent, problem-solving, goal-crushing individuals, which if I told you that I was one of those in an interview, you'd be like, I'm going to hire you right now. So that's what you're looking for.
Okay, great. And you said you've got upwards of 200 employees now. I don't imagine that you personally coach every single one of them, or do you?
I can tell you this. I see every one of their goals. I don't see every one of them every day. But when they hit their goals, I'm high-fiving them in the front foyer with the cake and the candles and the music and everything else. So that for sure is happening.
Okay.
And it's all an automatic process. That's the one thing about this. You don't want another job here. You want this to be fun.
Yeah.
You want other people to help you along the way. And it becomes an automatic process, but it's one that, like you said, it creates a really cool, fun culture. I mean,
Awesome.
along with the accolades and the anniversaries and the birthdays and the music and the lunches and the things that you do, that are more mechanical. The mental side of this thing is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you said it yourself, right? You're your own self-limiter, and that translates to you as the business owner, your entire executive team, your entire front line. That's a universal truth, in my opinion. So I appreciate all of this wisdom and knowledge around culture and coaching and the power of your people. This is going to be wildly valuable for my audience. I want to move off that subject a little bit right now and move into something that I'm really intrigued about. You said at the very beginning of the podcast, you said 3 words that you couldn't get out of your head, right? Comfort, peace, and freedom. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Why couldn't you get those 3 words? What is it about those 3 words? Why couldn't you get those out of your head?
Well, because one day, this is a very long time ago, I took a group of people to a Club Med, and Club Med dates me a little bit, but that was a long time ago in Mexico. And back at Club Med, you would buy beads, and you would put these beads on like necklaces, and each bead was worth so many drinks. Okay, like you had 3 beads for a tequila and 2 beads for a beer. So you would pay for them with beads, and you'd go buy more beads. Well, this one gentleman was there, and when you got there, they would give you a colored wristband, and the wristband would notate, I got here on a Wednesday, I'm leaving on a Wednesday. I got here on a Saturday, I'm leaving here on a Saturday. So the people, the NGOs that work there, they would look at your color, and they would know, okay, well, he just got here, or he's about to leave, and they would interact with you in a better way, more personable way. Well, anyway, this one guy, I remember meeting him at the bar. I saw him there almost every night, me and my friends, and he had like 7 or 8 of these bands on his wrist. And I said to him, so, dude, tell me about the bands. Like, why do you have all these bands? And he goes, oh, that's real simple. This guy was super dark tan. I mean, anyways, everybody knew his name. So he told me that he lived in Minnesota, and he had a grass cutting company. And during the winters, during the summer, he would cut grass all summer long, him and his friends. And in the fall, they would put their equipment away, grease it up, get it ready for the spring, lock everything down. And then he would go on vacation to Mexico for 3 months. And that was his thing. His thing was, I want 9 months of busting my butt and 3 months of complete freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. And he traveled all around the Caribbean that way.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, God, there's kind of a unique perspective. Not everyone could do that, but he did, and he loved it. That's what he wanted to do. And so when the words comfort, peace, and freedom started showing up, he was one of the first people that I thought of. I never even got this guy's name, okay? But he's in the book. And so I thought to myself, everybody has their own level of what they want their life to look like. Everyone has their own vision or version of what they want it to be. We're not all going to chase, influencer careers or being a rap star or having a mega yacht or 15 cars or a big house. We all have this perfect life that we would say, man, if I could live like that, if I could have that brochure be my life, that would be really cool. And so I thought to myself, we all seek our own level of comfort, peace, and freedom. So why aren't we customizing that and drawing that out for ourselves and defining exactly what that looks like? Because as you know, you can't achieve anything in life if you can't see it first very clearly. That's how your brain works. So why are we not using the most powerful tool we have, which is the visionary side of our brain, to drive us forward through life? And you have to start with what makes me comfortable, where would I find peace, and how would I use my freedom? So those three words kept coming back, and they're really the basis for how you build your vision board and how you live your life.
Wow, that's amazing. I have to be honest with you, Ken. When I heard those three words, I don't know what about it, but the resonance that I got from it, just hearing them in that order as you stated it, it really hits home for me. It's almost like there's a pull, and I imagine there was the same pull for you, and there could be the same pull for others to say, well, geez, there's something about that. The simplicity of it, number one, and the power of it, number two, that should divert my attention there. So I would ask this: how can anybody else use those three words? Kind of maybe in the context that you gave, right, as a vision board or something else. How can they use that to achieve it?
Well, if you take the word comfort, it applies to so many things, okay? Not just your favorite jammies sitting on the couch, but what kind of couch is it, and where's that couch at? Is it in a condo? Is it in a farmhouse? Is it in a suburban house? Is it in, an apartment? Where is that couch? Are you comfortable in your, driving your car around town, and why are you comfortable in it? Is it a pickup truck? Is it a sports car? Is it an electric car? Is it a motorcycle? I mean, where do you feel yourself most comfortable transporting yourself around the world? You can keep going. What's my most comfortable vacation? What is my most comfortable charity I'd love to give to? What makes me feel most comfortable when I'm doing a sport or taking care of myself and health? Do I want a really crazy dog that has lots of energy? Or do I want a golden retriever because I want to be calm and cool with this? So you can keep going. So comfort, peace, and freedom, you just keep doing that. And the categories basically are what I just said. If you lay out your life, every one of the things on your vision board should create a feeling of one of those three things. Great. It should create comfort for you, it should create peace, and it should create freedom. And the thing is, the more stressed we are, Josh, the less possibility it is for us to be spontaneous. And isn't spontaneity the ultimate form of freedom? I mean, to wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to grab my wife and I'm going to grab my dogs and we're going for a walk in the park because it's spontaneous. And boy, I'll tell you, I get a whole lot of peace walking through those woods with my dogs. So again, you just have to look at those three words as the context, almost like the ingredients for your vision board. Where am I most comfortable in all these things? What peace do I seek? And how would I use my freedom? And it's just a kind of a beautiful triangle, almost, if you will, where these terms are almost interdependent upon each other for their very existence. And so that, again, I couldn't get rid of them, man. I just could not stop seeing these words everywhere. So I knew that was part of the book, and there it is.
So is that something that you also coach your employees on? Is that something that you weave into your culture, or is that Ken's internal compass?
No, they all know. I mean, first off, every one of them got a copy of the book, whether they wanted it or not. But no, they all know that there's a basis for this. And again, the risk that you run when you ask somebody to do a goal-driven vision board or a puzzle box, whatever you want to call it. And the reason I use puzzle box is because when you're building a 10,000 piece puzzle, there's no way you can build it or 1,000 piece or five. There's no way you can build it without the box. You got to have the picture. And how many times do you look at that picture when you're building that puzzle? If you're building, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're building a 1,000-piece puzzle, I'll bet you look at that box 20,000 times during the creation of that puzzle. So yeah, people have to understand that it's their version of their life, because otherwise you might risk everyone saying, well, I guess I have to have a Ferrari and I have to have, a big house and I have to have no, you have to have what you want for yourself. And there's beauty in comfort, peace, and freedom. And that's where that's the underpinnings of what you need to do for yourself.
Absolutely. So two things. First of all, I really appreciate you expanding on that puzzle box idea. That's amazing. I actually got goosebumps when you said that, because it's just so utterly true. And this, again, the simplicity of it is beautiful. And I like what you're talking about with the what basically designing your perfect life, right? Because that's a lot of what we talk about on the show with the other guests. We call it definition of success, right? And we talked about it just a little bit before the show, and it truly is, to your point, right? We all have this idea. So there's two ideas. There's our idea, which is our perfect life, the comfort, peace, and freedom, right? And how that's unique to us. And then there's that other piece of how people tell us we should be, right? And how society says that we, and I hate using that word, society, but you know what I mean, right? It's that's how they tell us success, what should look like. And that gets really confusing, Ken, especially for young people, right? When they're in this stage of development, like, oh man, I'm being told that I have to go to college, because that's the way that I get to achieve X, Y, and Z, and there's a whole lot of lies in a really little amount of words there. You know what I'm saying? So, and it starts with this, this is my opinion, right? That it starts with the school system and how they view success and blue collar, white collar college education. Can I ask your views on the education system as it exists today, and how that affects maybe the blue collar space and how people view themselves in it?
Okay, well, this is one of those don't get me started things, but there's two kinds of college. There's job specific college, and then there's beer pong college. Okay. Job specific college is I'm going to school because I want to design buildings. So I'm going to go learn architecture. So I'm going to go to school. I'm going to learn architecture. And then when I get out, I'm going to go study buildings. I'm going to go build buildings. I'm going to be an architect. Job specific. Same goes with surgeons, teachers, bankers, engineers, whatever. So that's that. Then there's everybody else who gets told they have to go to college or else they're going to flip burgers the rest of their life, which is one of the biggest lies that we've been ever put onto our kids. Okay. It hasn't ever been true. It's not true today. And it's getting even less true as we move forward, especially with the blue collar crisis that we have. But here's the facts on college. 40% of kids go into college without any idea why they're going. And they hope to discover a reason once they get there. That's the worst thing you could ever do. Number two, most kids, when they do go to college with a reason, they change that reason 25% of the time. So they change their study. But the worst number is the last one. Only 33% of degrees ever get used ever. So 66% of the people are walking this earth paying $100,000 to $200,000, paying off debt, and not using what they paid for. If that was a business, it would go out of business. You couldn't sell a product that no one would be able to use 66% of the time. So I'm not anti-college. Again, if you're going to cut open my shoulder so I can get back on the golf course, I want you to learn everything there is to know about knives before you come at me with it. I get that. But just to say I have to go, man, I got to tell you, if you look at the curve of dollars and cents, if you're spending 40, 50 grand a year in college all in, and I mean all in on all the stuff you don't even think about, that's 200,000 at the end of those 4 years to the negative side of your asset base. Hopefully you didn't borrow that money. If you get right out of school right now, you can find jobs paying you $25, $30 an hour. That's 50 grand a year before overtime. that's 200,000 on the plus side. You realize by the time you're 22, that's a $400,000 swing in your net worth from negative to positive. So all I'm saying is at least be very sure or very specific about why you're going to college before you go. Otherwise, you're going to be paying off debt and not using that degree, and you're going to be so disappointed in the outcome of that.
Yeah.
When your friends are out there driving brand new $75,000 pickup trucks and controlling their own destiny. So
No, absolutely. And I love that. It sounds like we did a lot of the same research on this, Ben, because I see this as well. And, fair to state, as long as we're on the topic, right, that student loans, right, to your point that, a lot of this is borrowed. It's really important out there that people who are considering this, maybe younger listeners, know that even in bankruptcy, you can't forgive student loans. That's a very important thing to know. And that's one of the reasons why we have a $1.7 trillion student debt crisis in this country.
Horrible.
It's more than the GDP of like 77 countries, and so this is a big, very real thing right now. And one of the reasons why the blue collar skilled trades are so lucrative. One of the things I hear a lot is, well, get a college degree for security. And to me, that's funny when you weigh that against the blue collar skilled trades, right? Because you can go anywhere in the world and have a job in the blue collar skilled trades. So I appreciate you painting that picture for the audience. It's something I love to get perspective on because, quite honestly, there's a lot of perspectives that exist out there, and some of them help me to see through another lens as well. So you mentioned something earlier. I want to get back to it. You mentioned charities. It was in our conversation around being our own self-limiter, and I don't remember the context of it, but I know you're big on charities. I want to get kind of your take on this, right? One of the things that we hear is you get what you give. That's a very common phrase out there. Do you believe that phrase, Ken? And if so, how does it tie to your feelings around that?
So I've been to a lot of, auctions and black tie events and those kinds of things over the years. And I don't mind the fact that you go to one of these events and you bid on the vacation and you're giving the money to the charity, but you're expecting the vacation in return. I suppose that's just a mechanical way for them to do it, and it works and it's successful. But to me, giving because you're expecting something is not really giving in my mind. I mean, there's no time, talent, and treasure involved in that, which is the three basic tenets that we work on here. So, I'm gonna put it to you this way. So, again, I don't think you should give to get back. I will say this though: the more you give, the more the karma gods, whoever they are out there, seem to bestow upon you because they recognize you're a good, solid person and you'll probably give more. So I'm not going to say that it's a tried and true thing and you should never do it for that reason. But when you do give, you seem to be blessed with success so you can do more of it. And that's the experience that we've had. And I just think, we live in such an amazing country. We have the freedoms that we have. We have the ability to create businesses and do things. And then when those things go well, it's incumbent upon all of us to give back. I mean, that's just what we're supposed to do as human beings. So we do a lot of that here in lots of different ways. We have a lot of fun doing it, but it always involves time, talent, and treasure. And that is the key, involving your staff in it, because chances are they're going to do things that they would never do on their own as a group within your company. And that's where the real magic lies.
Talk to me about this time, talent, and treasure.
So it's one thing, I remember years ago, I was proud because we had sent a lot of checks to a lot of different places. And I took these checks and I framed them and I stuck up on the wall, and people walk by and they're like, oh, we gave money to Make-A-Wish. Oh, we gave money to Junior Achievement. Oh, we gave money to all these places. But it didn't have like the thing I really wanted it to have, which is we are good people. We give of ourselves. Okay. So now all the charities that we get involved with, you have to give of your personal time, meaning we all go do this thing together. You have talents, whether it's cooking or helping or digging or fixing or, I mean, whatever. You have a talent that you can give. And then that involves some type of a donation, money, treasure that you use. One of the most fun ones that we do is we have this peanut butter and jelly sandwich building thing that we do, where this company in town gives 1,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches away to the homeless every weekend. And we're one of the companies of many companies that are involved in doing this. And we literally have 12 people, 6 on each side. And we've got it down to a science now where we can build a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, peanut butter on both sides so the jelly doesn't run through, and then put it in a plastic bag, put a napkin on it, put it in a brown bag, put a snack in there and an apple, put that bag in the box, and we build 250 of these in 25 minutes. And it is an absolute riot. Everyone gets involved. They love doing it. Everyone gets a chance to doing this. So it might be 12 people. It might be 12 different people. We have other people that go to Ronald McDonald House and they cook meals for people. And we have people that volunteer at baseball games and, charity events. So it really is something that you have to give of yourself, of your time, your talent, and then a little bit of money. And it goes a long way that way.
I really like that explanation. What are some of the charities? I know you do a lot of philanthropy work. What are some of the charities that you're involved in, and how are you involved?
Well, we are one of the biggest donors of Make-A-Wish in the state of Ohio, which is really cool. We have I think we're on our 18th child that we've sponsored. We do another thing called Mom's House, which if you have a young girl that unfortunately finds herself expecting a child, but she still wants to go to high school, right? So they have a home that you can kind of park your child there during the day while you're in school, but you have to get good grades. You have to help clean the house. You have to help support the house, and you have to be supportive of the community. And so we get heavily involved in that. We're on our 10th or 12th gal there that we've done over time. We teach at Junior Achievement, where you can show young entrepreneurs how they can come up through the world and see some of the things that they want to do. We do work with boys and girls clubs and just a host of other small stuff like baseball teams and softball teams and all that kind of stuff. Plus, I have my own foundation that I support where I give the knowledge that we're talking about today. I give that away for free to Gold Star members, Gold Star family members, their kids, and first responders as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And if somebody wanted to help or support that, how would they do so?
Well, I have a course that I built around the book, and my life was unbelievably blessed before I wrote this book and before I created this course. So this isn't about a revenue thing for me. I built a $179 course. You get a free $25 book with it. And it's 8 sessions, and it's all around how you can use the things that we talked about today and change your life to the better this afternoon. And when we sell those courses, people love them. I have a 90% approval rating on these courses, which is really cool. It does change your life. But the good news is when you do this, you go through this 8 sessions, 45 minutes per session, we will donate a similar scenario to somebody in need, either a Gold Star family or a first responder or whatever, and try to get them to where they need to be, especially returning from, the theater and not knowing what they want to do. So if you support yourself in your life, know that you're going to help somebody else at the same time. It's pretty cool win-win thing there.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. So I've got another question for you. I've been curious about. I'm wondering, life before the book, life after the book. How did it change?
Well, first off, I had so many people tell me, "Thank you for writing this book," because I was stuck selling medical supplies, and I was a plumber during college, a plumber's assistant, and I loved being outdoors and working for myself. And so I quit my medical job and went back to becoming a plumber at 45 years of age. And you did that for me. So thank you for that. So I had a lot of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I also had a lot of people who transitioned to their side gig and made it their full gig,
Yeah.
which was really cool because it's easier to do that now than it's ever been, with cell phones and running your company out of your truck and whatever. So a lot of people transition from their unhappy life to their happy life, which is really cool. And then we're getting ready to write, we're halfway through writing another book that speaks to business owners on how to create the type of culture that would attract somebody like that, that we talked about earlier, a driven person, a puzzle box person, So yeah, it's been really great. The funny thing is I've been on 305 podcasts in the last year and a half, and I've met like a lot of amazing people. I've been all over Fox and Friends, Tucker Carlson, all those guys, and it's just been really cool.
That's awesome. And so do you feel like the book was a catalyst to get you closer to your peace, comfort, freedom?
That is a great question because, I'm still chasing things myself. And so the answer is it taught me to keep going. As soon as you think you might hit that level, then it taught me to find other avenues to go after. When I was younger, I wanted to be a race car driver. I wanted to be Richard Petty in the number 43 car. I didn't take that route, but now I have several cars and I race them. And so, it took me to get those outlets going, to get them moving, and also to take life a little less seriously and to share a little more and hang out with my granddaughter because time is your most valuable asset you're ever going to have. And so, yeah, all that good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. And I imagine there's a sense, at least there is for me, of being able to leave something of value behind, right? That will outlive you and your kids and your grandkids and, hopefully into eternity that can provide value generation after generation, which in and of itself is a hell of an accomplishment. So that's that's always that's I've had a few people on different shows say, what would you want your legacy to be? And I guess it would just be that, I really cared. Once I realized how to do some of these things, my first inclination was to enjoy that, but then also, how do I give this information to other people so that they can enjoy it and shorten their learning curve? And that's been a lot of fun, Josh. It really, really has. I was speaking with Jarek Robbins, who's Tony Robbins' son. He's a huge businessman in his own right. And he said, it's not about climbing the mountain, getting to the top. It's about how many people you take with you. And that was a pretty cool thought. No, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that with me. So, Ken, what am I not asking? What have I not asked that is of value to our listeners, something that maybe is passionate to you or that you think could help them? What did I miss?
First off, this has been an amazing interview, and I really, really appreciate you having me today. The only thing that I would say is that in life, especially recently, we react to everything. We're reacting to social media. We're reacting to stimulus. We're reacting to weather. We react to information. We react to comparing ourselves to others. And we got to stop all that. You and only you know the best person that you could possibly be. And because I couldn't tell you what your favorite color is right now, Josh, and you couldn't tell me what mine is, but you know what it is, right? So why are we letting other people, these, as you said earlier, societal norms? What's that? What does that even mean? Societal norm? Normal? I don't want to be normal. I want to be great. So all I'm saying is, let's stop relying on what we think other people should tell us to be or what their image of us should be. We know who we are. We know what we want. So trust yourself and go after it and get it.
I love that. Somebody once said, no one normal ever made history, and that stuck with me.
That's great.
So I have one more question for you, and then we'll move to close here. For the business owners out there, Ken, if you could share one piece of wisdom or advice that has the potential to transform the way small blue-collar business owners think about, let's say, comfort, peace, or freedom, what would that be?
Stand in front of them all and make this statement. I can't get what I want, nor can my company get what it wants or needs until all of you get what you want first. And then talk about that incessantly for the next year. What does that mean? What do you want for yourself? Why are you here? Why are you working here today? What is your life looking like? What do you want it to look like? If we could draw it out with crayons and paper, what would that picture look like? What would your Pinterest board be? What would your vision board be? This company can't succeed until you all get what you want first. You have to believe it, you have to show it, and you have to live it. And once that happens, look out. It's going to be good stuff for you.
I love that. And I'm just going to tie this right back real quick. I can't help but make this association. Sometimes it can be very difficult for us as adults to say exactly what it is that we want because we've lived in a system that has told us what we should want, to your previous point, time and time again. So stay on it, right? And truly be honest with yourself about what it is that you want, and both for your business or if you're a frontline employee, no matter what. So, Ken, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Where can people find you? Where can they find your book, or what else are you doing?
Well, we're doing the book and the course are at kenrusk.com. You can see the foundation at veteransuccess.org and see what we're up to there. I'm also on the socials at Instagram, and all those are they're at Ken Rusk Official. So yeah, you can find me in all these kinds of places, and I'd appreciate you following me and seeing what we're up to.
Awesome. Well, Ken, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. I know you've done 305 of these. I'm honored to be part of that conversation, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate being here.
Thanks for listening to the Blue is the New White podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get the latest episodes. For more, please follow at Josh Zolin on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Or visit us at blueisthenewwhite.com, where we create success, not debt, and build blue-collar heroes.